right, everyone. How's it going? You doing all right? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for joining in today. I'm coming to you from a hotel room in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a day off. And today I drug a good friend of mine, a coworker, Nigel Skippy Monk, into this room to talk to him. And it was a lot of fun. Anyway, he is our lighting crew chief out here on the Duran tour. And man, he's just a great guy. He's been doing it for a long time. He loves what he does. And you see it when he works. He's very passionate, sometimes so passionate it pisses people off, but I love it. I've been sharing stage right with Skippy for the last couple of years, and it's been really cool. We got into a little bit of boxing. Joe Calzaghe, the Welsh Dragon, because Skippy is from Cardiff, Wales. And anyway, it was a lot of fun. He does this job. You could see how much he still loves doing this, and it makes me feel good because I haven't been doing it half as long as him, and I hope I love it as much when I'm at that stage of my career. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Let's check it out.
Yep.
I won't take a lot of your time, man. I don't know if you've listened to any of them.
No, I've listened partly.
All right. Cool. So yeah, it's just I ask you a bunch of dumb questions.
I've got a load of dumb answers, so that works perfectly.
All right, man. Tell everyone who you are.
My name's Nigel Skippy Monk. Very unusual if I'm called Nigel. Usually Skippy or Welsh with an expletive after it. But there we go.
What do you do?
I'm a lighting crew chief. I have been an LD in my time, but I find that the drummer's girlfriend telling me what colour to light the band wasn't the best idea. So yeah,
is that a common thing?
Yeah, that's a common thing. Getting, some people can handle the politics of it and be nice. I was never very good at the politics.
So. Did where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Cardiff in Wales.
Cardiff, okay. Did you originally want to be in lighting or band or?
No, I never had. So I started as a trainee quantity surveyor, which is the most boring job in the world, working for the local council. And a mate of mine used to drive started working for a lighting company. He used to drive his van around. So I used to take time off work. Well, I used to pretend I was sick, and then I'd go and give him a hand, really. And I used to, as my first ever shows were with them, and then I started doing local crewing and thought, right, I'm going to do this for a living.
That's how it started?
Yeah, just literally. Like I used to mitch off my work, and then I was spending more time not working than working. So yeah,
I've spent some time in Cardiff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I after my personal things, I've moved back to Cardiff about 3 years ago, and I'm living in quite a hip and little trendy area. So it's quite nice. It's quite cool for an old man, anyway.
Yeah, I'm a big boxing fan. One of my favorite boxers is Joe Calzaghe.
Joe Calzaghe,
the Welsh Dragon,
undefeated.
Yeah,
which
beat two of the best American boxers of all time.
Oh yeah, and two great fights.
Yeah. Everybody was scared to fight him.
Well, they thought he was going to lose, didn't they? It's like. But I've met Joe and I've met his father. His father's a complete nutter.
Is he kind of a legend there? Or is he like
absolutely.
A hero?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Joe Calzaghe is definitely because he's from up in the valleys. He's not actually from Cardiff, but he's I think it's Newbridge. I'd have to check, but
yeah. He's a great man. One of the greats.
Built like a brick shithouse as well. You wouldn't want to have a row with him.
No. Which most boxers found out eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everyone was scared to fight him. He was a guy that
undefeated.
Yeah, he was undefeated, but couldn't make a break because nobody would fight him.
No, exactly. He was at a time where people just ran scared.
Yeah.
And then when the two did pop their head up, he put their head back down again.
Really. Yeah. Anyway, back to lighting. So you started in lighting. You've never done anything else, backline or anything, or
never done backline. Done a bit of stage management every now and again, and I still go out and do stuff out in for a friend's company out in the Middle East. I stage manage the the gigs at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and I've got a sort of a link with golf crewing out there. A good friend of mine who sadly died during COVID. His wife still owns and runs the company, so I go out and doing bits and pieces of them, general crewing wise.
Yeah. What is the being a lighting crew chief? What is your biggest pet peeve or?
I don't pet peeve people not pulling their weight really.
Yeah.
And I don't really have to see, because most of the crews I work with are either there's people in there that I've known for years, so we work well as a team. I've had a few difficulties over the years with some people, but that's just the way people,
Yeah.
I'm quite abrasive. I'm quite full on. I'm quite, let's get this done and get out of here.
I've worked with you for a couple of years now, and I've seen both sides.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed, the difference is the only time I've seen the other side is when someone's not pulling their weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're having to do wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
When you don't have to.
And there's times when, sort of, I've been around now, so I'm 60 next birthday. I effectively started on the road when I was 22. So, it's 38 years. You see all sides of it,
Yeah.
You tend to take a broader view of it.
Yeah.
I said I still love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be out here with me aching back, me bandy knees, and
We all walk with that hump, don't we?
Yeah. Try not to, but I still love it. And there's nothing. I think if you talk to anyone who loves this business, there's nothing better than seeing a crowd go home happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what music. It doesn't matter what event.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're here to put that up and make another event for someone. I know that when I was a kid, my first gigs, that when you said earlier about I was going to do lighting, it's weird looking back on it. My first gig, it was a toss up between, I can't remember rightly. It was either Hawkwind at Sophia Gardens,
Wow,
or it was Boomtown Rats at the Sophia Gardens. Can't work, or the Tubes. They were all about the same time in the same venue. And I did look at the lights, but I think it was a subliminal thing. Years later, I think, maybe I did know I was going to be involved. I've always collected music since I bought my first single when I was 12. I'd love to be able to say that it was something really trendy, but I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it was like Que Sera Sera by Doris Day or something like that. I'm not really certain what my first record was, but I've got a sizable collection that I was into music.
mine was Hot Stuff by Donna Summer.
That's pretty cool.
First record I ever bought with my own money.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's
Back
cool.
then it wasn't, but it was cool then. And then there was a time when you didn't say
disco.
anything.
No.
But now,
burn your disco records.
I know, right? But now it's the shit. Still.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, there's Niall.
Yeah.
I'm not being funny.
Full
right in front of
circle,
us.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And getting the desserts he deserves.
Yeah, right.
So,
That was my next question. Is like, what do you love about it? I remember my first shows. You didn't really. You went for the music. You looked at the lights, but they weren't part of it.
No.
Now the lights are the show.
Yeah, they can be, and in some instances, I think that's quite sad because it takes away. Some people put too much stuff on bands that don't really need it.
Yeah,
they could concentrate more about the actual music and the musicianship itself.
What do you think about current lighting rig? Do you think it adds to the music?
I think it's a great. I am slightly biased because Vince is a very, very good old friend of mine, and I've spent the last 6 or 7 years touring pretty constantly with Vince, with Mika, Paloma Faith, Jamiroquai, and of course Duran. And I like what Vince does. I think Vince adds something to anything he does.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't mind going the extra effort to put things in when some days you'd be quite happy to go, I tell you what, I can't be asked.
Yeah.
But because he cares, and he still cares to this day,
then
and he is 2 weeks younger than me, so, I have that on him.
Yeah. So he has to do what you tell him to do.
Well, no, not really, but yeah. But
I think I like Vince because he's creative, but he's not mad. No. He doesn't put. It's almost like a songwriter who doesn't waste lyrics. He doesn't put stuff that doesn't belong.
He doesn't put 10 tons of shit up there.
Yeah.
He's like, he puts. Well, we're doing arena shows, and there's quite minimal equipment up there. Eight trucks on a sold out arena tour, and it looks bigger.
Yeah.
So that says something about design.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you could quite easily have 18 trucks out here and not look as big.
Yeah. Like I said, I was going to ask you what you love, and you said the fans, the show. Have you ever been on a gig where it was just a money gig? Like you just took it and you're like, I don't really care for the show. Do you still give your 100% on those gigs?
No, I give 100. I said I was on, about 5 years ago, I was on with Slayer, whatever they were called. There was Obituary, Anthrax, and some other Lamb of God. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, for me, no interest whatsoever in that type of music. I mean, to me, it's a noise, but people appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I had a great time. I still gave it 100%. It was big changeovers, big different. Each had a different look. The music all sounded the same to me, and I'm probably called a Philistine for that. But you know, I'm sure there's metalheads like who may listen to this thinking, "What is he on about?" But to me, it just doesn't register. So.
Yeah. That's cool. When we're on something like this, where the opening band brings their own floor package.
Yeah.
I did a tour several years ago where it was a co-headlining tour, and both headliners brought their lighting.
Yep.
Is that kind of a pain in the ass sometimes? Is that
really.
something?
As long as you've got, as long as there's boundaries set between the sets of between the bands and what's expected. Like with this, we've got Bastille who've got that floor package, but they've got a really nice. Their lighting tech, Andy. We help him out every night because he's a nice lad.
Yeah.
You know, he's still quite young in the business. He's got a lot on his plate. Gets it up there in a thing. So no, best of luck. I said that Slayer thing. Each of those four bands had a different look on stage. So we made sure that you just do it.
Yeah. Does that make it easier when everyone's just like there for the same reason?
Yeah, I think so. Festivals nowadays have taken a slant where the seventh band down the bill has got shit on stage. Then it can be tedious. I remember the days when you turned up a festival, you had a few extra floor lights and a backdrop.
Yeah.
Now it can be, say there's 8 on the bill, there can be 8 different setups. And I think when you're playing at midday with the sun setting, with the sun rising on your stage,
yeah, you don't need it.
I think it's money wasted.
Yeah.
It's money wasted by production, but that's up to them.
Yeah. You ever had a nightmare gig? That's always my question for
the worst gig I've ever done my entire life, where I was completely. I was at the end. I was on the loading dock crying. I was. The Cranberries had just broken into. This was 1998. Would that have been? Oh no, it was 1995, and they just broken big. And it was basically old LSD, who were based out of Birmingham, and opened the London office. So I was prepping for the tour, and it was only me because the American LD and the American LD's assistant weren't flying over till later in the prep time. And it was just the worst prep ever. There was politics going on. There was things, but the actual day of the gig itself was just horrendous. From the load into the things, like just stuff wasn't available. All the moving lights, they were in telebeams at the time. Had 3 sets of software in it that didn't talk to each other. Oh, loads of things. One of the follow spots physically blew up during the show. It was like I look back on it, and it was like a comedy day of errors. There was the patch bay, had no patch pins, so I had to make it out of bare wire and matchsticks. Oh yeah, it was everything you could possibly in a row. Just kept going wrong. Loading the truck, and I thought, as I was loading the truck, I thought, this is my first and last gig on this. Production will just fire me. Yeah. And it ended up, the production manager, who was Dolores's boyfriend at the time, big American guy, came over and just gave me a big hug, and he went, I was watching what you were doing. You did everything you could. I thought I was home, but yeah. So, and the next gig, things just got better because we, got the stuff subbed in and got it sorted. Yeah. But that was my worst gig ever.
Whenever I've watched you guys work, you and Kaz, you work really close with Vince. I've watched this in theaters where Vince is having trouble with the house rig.
Yeah,
it's not playing well with his rig.
Yeah.
And what in those cases, like, what's your role in that?
My case is basically to keep everyone calm and just like, from one side thing, because Kaz is the techno ho. Sometimes I'm like a nodding old dinosaur. I know what has to happen, but sometimes I can't fully appreciate how to get that across, but I know what the end result is. So I can be the person. I don't mind being not liked. So I don't mind being the guy that has to shout at the house person.
Yeah.
Or, I don't mind being that person, whereas Kaz will be the mediator and getting things.
Yeah.
But I'll be the one that eventually it comes down to, why isn't it sorted?
Yeah.
So, when production come going, what's happening? They don't go to Kaz or Vince. They come to me.
Yeah.
And I have to, I have to stand there and give them the honest opinion.
Yeah. I've noticed you don't mind being the guy that shouts. I've noticed that. You don't mind being not liked.
No.
But from day one, I think our first show together, I told you this is where I set up.
Yep.
I'll always compromise. And you said, hey, if I shout at you sometimes, it's not there.
No.
But I think on stage right works well together.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I am of one of the old school where I can shout at someone and I've forgotten it. And literally, as it's coming out of my mouth and as that point's been made, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Because we live on a bus, right? And a bus, we trundle around on a bus that's 57 or 60 feet, however long it is. And there's 14 or 12 of you on there. If you don't get things out in the open and you harbour them, it causes resentment. Buses get split, crews get split. Have a row, get it out of the way, get it a thing, and then just move on.
Yeah. Don't take it personal.
No, it's not. You know, and when people are getting personal, that's when you need to be pulled up. I've had occasions where I've gone a step too far and somebody's just Skip, you're out of order.
Yeah.
And I'll take back and go, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you need that area,
And I've seen that, Skippy, before.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and I've seen you be like, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just trying to do a show, and I think that's what a lot of people were mistaken about you in the beginning.
Yeah,
like I've liked you since day one.
Yeah, I know.
You've been honest about everything, but you know what the incidents and the people I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, of course I do. Yeah, I do totally. But instantly, I think I'm all right. I think
I wouldn't be talking to you about it. I think you are all right.
Exactly.
I've been bugging you about this for weeks.
I know. I get on with most people, and I do care about things. That's like, I hate when people go, "Oh, I'm not touching that. It's like it's sound or it's backline or it's whatever." It's all part of a show, and if we don't all work together, it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
And when there's a split, that's when we always talk.
It's not my gig.
Yeah, it's not my gig. We always take the mickey because we all call you the country club, But deep down, we wish we could do our job and come in at 11 o'clock, but we can't. And it's everyone has chosen their gig, right? And that's my thing. You hear people argue about talking about money or whatever. I never let anyone know what I earn. If I'm happy, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters,
right? It's got nothing to do with anyone else. But that money can cause resentments and whatever. And some people go, "Oh, look at them, they haven't done anything." Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Their gig is whatever that piece of the show is.
Yeah.
It might be minimalist. There might be somebody there doing one little bit of magic, in a show, and they have to do 2 hours to do it. Well, good on them, to be honest.
Yeah. In the beginning when I started touring, I didn't understand the resentment and why people would get mad, and I couldn't get that. And I didn't understand the deals part of the thing.
No.
But I do see it. Some people harbor that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And when I first started, a mentor of mine said that I shouldn't harbor any ill will because then that person owns that part of your brain.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you'll never enjoy
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And I've had things in this business with people in power over me in certain things. I've let that get to me, and some of it, a couple of them I harbored for 7-8 years, and until another friend of the situation basically went, "You two," threw us in a room and said, "Right,
hash it out.
Yeah, you've been the best of friends, and now you've been ridiculous for the last thing. You two need to just talk.
Yeah.
So, and it just sometimes again it needs someone on the outside going, is it really that important? As I said, I'm nearly 60 now, and sometimes I go, lads, we're not saving lives. You know, we're doing a show. We're making, we're hopefully enhancing some people's lives, but we're not saving them.
Yeah. Man, how important is it to, because we do the same thing every day.
Yep.
It's routine. We know the gear. We know the rig. How important is it every day to go into a different venue with local crews to trust, earn that trust from them?
They've got to trust. The reason they'll trust you is that if you have a direct plan. My plan on this in the mornings is unload the 3 trucks, get my 10 guys. I split my 10 guys between the various departments.
Yeah.
The locals then know that I have not control, but I know what is going on. I know what needs to be done.
Uh-huh.
I don't micromanage in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So my little bit is the front truss, the V's, and setting out the floors. Grum and Bear's bit is the upstage, which is like 2 trusses crammed full of shit. Kaz is the racks, and Brandon is the automation.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I have to trust that they can do it, and I have to let them put their trust in the locals.
That they can direct the locals.
Yeah, direct the locals, because I've been a local, and the worst, if someone comes in and they're all flippy floppy and a bit lame, you're like, oh well, we can take the piss out of him.
Yeah.
But if someone comes in, right, lads, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, dit. You're like, oh right, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing, and they put trust in me to do those bits.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to check up, obviously, because the quality of local crew, like any department, can vary, greatly.
Yeah, I was talking to Tom, our front of house engineer, and I told him that there's a difference between demanding respect and commanding respect.
Yeah.
And you, I'm telling you, I watch you work every day. You come in and you command it in a way that's like, you're not telling them what to do. You're saying, we're going to do this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where I've also worked with guys who demand it, and they come in like, you're beneath me. You're a local. You got to do it.
And no, it's nonsense, because it works against you.
It does.
Because we come back, right, and they go, here's a case in point. In I think it was Salt Lake City, this guy comes up to me and he goes, are you Skippy? And I went, yeah. I haven't been in Salt Lake City in maybe 20 years. He goes, did you used to tour a lot with Rod Stewart? I went, yeah. He goes, I was your local then. That was 21 years ago. And he said, I asked to be changed to electricians to work with you. I thought, that feels good to me, that he remembered. I'd obviously made an indent in his life at that level, and that he still wanted then 20 years later to work with me.
Yeah.
So that made me feel quite good, to be honest.
And kind of rewarding, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Even if it's a shit tour, that can make your day. And
at the end of the day, I always do my little thing. Good night, all, as they're all, because ours is usually the last truck we're rigging.
Yeah.
And they're all there, and I always do the thing. Yeah, obviously we're given, our colour is orange on the loadout, so I usually say, all right, everybody, thanks, you've all been great. Obviously the oranges have been better than the rest of you, but you've all been great, and leave it at that. And and you can see the ones in orange go, yep, but, it's a little bit of banter.
Right on. What do you think you'd be doing if you didn't do this for a living?
I have no idea. I said,
did you ever want to be in a band?
No, never.
Did you ever?
I always loved music. I said, always collected it. Never wanted to be in a band.
Sports.
I upset my mum, because I did piano and guitar when I was really young. I was about 7 or 8, and unbeknownst to me, she told me later, I was a natural. But because all they wanted to teach you was chords and things, and I didn't have anyone around me that wanted to be in a band, and do anything. So I was like, I don't want to play classical. I want to listen to my music. I don't necessarily have anyone else that I'd really want to play it with. Yeah. So it never became a thing. No, and sports, I was shit at. So my dad died 18 months ago. My dad was my best mate. Mm-hmm. So when I was younger, I'd try and play soccer like the youth club team or the thing. And my dad would take me training and thing. And when he was in his youth, he played for his county. He played for the Navy. He was a really good footballer, striker. And about 20 years ago, so I was about 35 or whatever, we were having a pint in a pub. And he literally out of the blue, he goes, Nige, he said, I've got to tell you something. He said, you know, all that time I used to take you to training with the football and I used to encourage you. And I was like, oh, yeah. He goes, you were fucking rubbish. He goes, you were one of the worst football players I've ever worked with in my entire life. And it took him till I was 35 to tell me. And I already knew I was, but he'd hammered
But
it.
he thought you could handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. He had to wait till I was 35.
Yeah. So you said you disappointed your mom. Were your parents proud of you for what you did? Coming from where you came from, I mean, you've seen the world.
Well, yeah. So my mum was a nurse, an ancillary nurse and a waitress. And my father was in Royal Navy, Merchant Navy, and then a steel worker, right? Working on the production line. Hard work, whatever. But Dad had seen the world in the Royal Navy and the Merchant Navy. And that was part of why I think I love what I do, is because he used to do this thing. Like Montevideo would come up on the news for some reason, and my dad would go, I've been there. Or they'd go Cape Town, and my dad would go, I've been there. And again, subconsciously, I thought, right, I want to be able to go to my son, I've been there, I've been there, I've been there. But now my son's 14 and has been to more places. First time I only went to Canada for one summer when I was 15 with my uncle, lived there, and to Mallorca when I was 18. Yeah. My son by now has been to Dubai. You know, he's travelled both coasts of the US. You know, he's a very lucky boy. He's been diving with me in Egypt. Yeah. You know,
wow, that's great. Yeah. What does he want to do?
He certainly doesn't want to get that. He certainly don't want to be like his dad and get grimy. I don't know. He's 14. He's 14, taller than me, a lot better looking. You know, the world's his oyster. His mum works in television and drama production, television production. I think he's going to go more that way. But who knows? But whatever he wants to do, good on him.
Yeah.
My mum never understood to the day she died, you know, are you ever going to get a proper job? Which I think all our parents...
You know, I tell people this all the time. My mom still doesn't she thinks I'm out here hanging out with my friends in the band.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. It took until I did a tour, I think it was of an easy listening singer called Barbara Dixon, and my dad came to the show and stayed after the show and sat in St David's Hall in Cardiff and sat in the stalls and watched what we did. And it was only to us was a small system, but he was like, now I sort of get it. He said, but that's hard work, you know? And he went, so he understood what it was. I think my mum just thought I was, you know, drinking, doing drugs and getting laid, which, you know, there was part of that in there, but there was the hard work in there as well.
It's hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Man, I do appreciate you doing this. I just have one more question.
Yep.
And I'll let you go for the day.
That's all right.
I've taken up enough of your time. Yeah. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Yeah. If we were having breakfast, what would you have?
If I was having breakfast, what would I have? Now, that's a weird one. The ex-wife always used to take the mickey. We go on really expensive holidays, and there'd be a massive spread, and I'd have just cereal. I'd have Rice Krispies or something like that. But if I was I'm not really a breakfast person, to be honest. Like on a load-in, if a breakfast sandwich arrives by 11 o'clock, bacon and egg with a bit of brown or red sauce. It's hard to decide, really. a bit of HP sauce, I suppose, on an egg and bacon sandwich. But if I'm spoiling myself, I'm making it myself. It's my father's recipe for scrambled eggs, which uses a lot of butter and a lot of eggs. Oh, okay. It's the only thing my dad could cook. And he'd cook it on
Christmas. But he perfected it.
Yeah, and he'd only do it once a year. On Christmas Day morning, when Mum was at work, he would make breakfast, which would be, we'd have a big slab of ham, which my mum would have cooked overnight. We'd have that ham cut with his scrambled eggs, which to me are still the best scrambled eggs in the world.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you doing this. I just want to say, I I enjoy working with you. I worried so much about you when you had to leave the tour last year.
Yeah, no, I think I worried a few people. I thought I'd put myself to the limit, but
I was really glad to see you back. I enjoy hanging with you on stage, right?
Yeah,
You've always been a stand-up guy and been honest with me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll do anything. You know, and it gets cramped over there on stage, right? Especially at the moment with Bastille and with Niles boys. But you know, again, everyone just gets on.
Like I say, ever since that day one in Birmingham in that little club, I said I can work with anybody.
Yeah.
So. I appreciate you doing this, man.
No problem. It's a pleasure, fella.
It's good talking to you.
And you, man.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Bye.
Right on. Nigel Skippy Monk. What a great guy, man. I wish everyone had the opportunity to work with some of the people, most of the people that I've had the opportunity to work with. He's one of them. He's a character. He's somebody that you work with, maybe, like he said, for one day, but you're never going to forget the dude. All right, everyone, please visit our Big Cartel store, isbreakfast.bigcartel.com. Check it out, buy a shirt, share it with somebody, share the podcast, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. All right, guys, I am done. We are on the downside of this tour, and we'll talk to you next week.